Okay, welcome. This is our first demo lecture for Design 1 for fall 2020. And first we're going to talk about mark and marks. But before we talk about marks, we have to talk about how marks relate to the art elements, right? So the art elements are generally considered line, shape, value, color, texture, form, and space. And in this class, we don't really do much with color, we don't do much with form and space. We focus a lot on line and value and some on texture. So line, shape, and value we cover a lot. The thing I want you to think about is, stop moving around. If these are the elements, right, we can think of marks. Lucy, you're moving a lot, just hold still. If these are the elements, then marks are, in some ways, you can almost think of them as like subatomic particles. Marks are the things that make all these things, because a mark on a page can be a line, but a mark can also be a shape, right? And marks can vary. They can create value. They can be dark in value, but they can be light in value. Marks can create color. Marks can create, all of these things here are created by marks. So fundamentally, even before we get to line, shape, value, color, texture, form, and space, we're really dealing with marks and surface as the two most fundamental, I wouldn't necessarily call them elements, but the fundamental things of all art making, which is a thing that we put the marks on and then the marks that we make. Now, if you're focusing on three-dimensional artwork, you can maybe say that this is a little bit of a limiting model. But let's start for right now. In two-dimensional world, fundamentally everything is about marks and surface. Now, the first thing that you guys have to do as a class is you have to create a bunch of pages in your sketchbook where you make a lot of different marks. So let's talk about the different ways that marks can vary, right? They can vary in terms of direction. So you might start wanting to make marks going this way, but you can also make marks going that way, right? So direction, let's put, and value. Marks can vary in value, which has a lot to do with pressure, but also can have a lot to do with what tool you use. Some tools make lighter marks, and some tools automatically make darker marks. This pen is making very light marks because it's running out of ink. Oh well. So in this demo, or in this exercise that you're doing, you get to use pencil, right, and a ballpoint pen and a Sharpie. And with those, trying to make as many different kinds of marks that you could make. So we've talked about direction and value, but we could also talk about different kind of characteristics. Lines could be straight, but they could be zigzaggy or scribbly, right? They could be very, very regular or extremely irregular. And so the goal of this exercise is for you to create as much variety with your mark making system as possible, but also thinking about how the layering, what if you make lots of straight marks, but then lots of zigzaggy marks across them, but also lots of light swirly marks with your ballpoint pen over the top. What kind of textures, what kind of values does that create? That is all this first exercise is about. It's just about making as much as possible. You succeed, right, by creating as much variety as you can. So really push yourself to put down as many different kinds of mark making systems. Try really, really using a light hand. Try really, really slow marks. Try having mark making systems that are very, very consistent and stay the same over a long period of time. Right? And try mark making systems that are much more dense. make a lot more value. Try mark making systems that are very organized and have a clear system. Okay? Try mark making systems that vary the width of lines. Have some marks that are very, very sharp and some that are very, very soft and fuzzy. And try some mark making systems that are just one idea without any layering other than that one idea itself. And other mark making systems where it requires lots of layering, where you maybe start out with some very regular kind of marks, and then you might switch a drawing tool and try very kind of irregular sort of marks. And then a different drawing tool that makes a different kind of mark. Also, really explore, I'm going to have to get a new page for this. Explore the mechanics of your body. I'm going to switch to the pencil, right? Your body can make, like if we just use our elbow, right, as a hinge, we can make arcs. We can make mark making systems that are based on that arc. We could do the same thing with our wrist in smaller ways, although it's not quite as fun or comfortable, right? So we can make arcs, but we can also, if we're using our shoulder, we can make other kind of curves, circular curves, S curves. We can make zags, right? If we kind of use our shoulder. We can also make straight lines. Straight lines, in some ways, like straight verticals, straight horizontals, are some of the hardest kinds of lines to make without, other than with using a ruler, which you are allowed to do, but you should also explore what it's like to make a straight line without a ruler. Because straight lines are difficult because you have to, instead of just allowing one mechanical position of your body work in that one way, straight lines require that you have to counterbalance, right? As I'm doing this, my wrist is doing one thing, my elbow's doing slightly something else, my shoulder's doing something else. Each is counterbalancing each other to allow me to make a continuous straight line. But also, practice the difference between a slow line, like if I tried to make a straight line going straight up really slowly, it changes its character, whereas if I make it fast, it has a different character. They both contain errors that are different from like a line if I'd made it with a ruler. Now you can also explore making marks where you use your left hand. Oh, we're at time. Okay, let's end it there. All right, I'll see you in the next video.